Today we're going to dive into Simplify Writing and look at some different levels of the program. We're going to do a quick overview of kind of what you get when you purchase a level, and then I'm going to flip the camera down to my desk and we're going to look through level 2, and then we'll come back to the screen and look through a little bit of level 5 sample. Hey, I'm Sarah from Homespun Childhood. I'm a former teacher turned homeschool mom of 3. I'm a literacy specialist, and here at Homespun Childhood, I share all things curriculum, literacy, homeschool, and more. We're going to look inside Simplify Writing, which is a systematic and explicit evidence-based writing program. This writing program has lots of different levels, so we're going to start here on the website and dive in. So when you come to Simplify Writing, they've got all their, kind of breakdown here that you are welcome to go and look through. And if we come over here to homeschool, they talk about the available programs. There's a placement test where you can figure out which level to put your child in. The levels are each $80, $79, a one-time payment, and you get lifetime access to all of the materials for that level. So within your level, you have instructional videos for each day's lesson. You have sample lessons with directions and scripts. You have grammar instruction and practice that's embedded in each unit. I really like how they have done this. We know from research that grammar instruction is most effective when it is embedded with our writing. They have a full spelling program based off of the science of reading as well. So this is like a great added bonus for homeschoolers. They also include handwriting practice. They have through level 6 right now. Okay, so level 0 is kindergarten-ish, and then we have middle school level writing. They also have a whole, frequently asked questions here and all that jazz. So let's look and see what happens when you purchase a level. So I have purchased level 2, and I used that on and off with my daughter this spring to try it out. And we'll look at that more specifically in a minute. So when you purchase a level, you have access to your little dashboard here. And so the level that you purchase shows up here with all your resources. Then we have your spelling and your handwriting. I want to show you what this looks like really quick before we come down to the writing program. We have a video explaining their spelling, getting started. We have spelling irregular high frequency words, letter sounds, short vowels, digraphs. So you have all of the levels of spelling, because spelling skills vary widely, especially in, those second grade, third grade, fourth grade. We have kids at all different levels. And so knowing where to start is going to be important. So they have your scope and sequence. They have a spelling inventory that helps you figure out where your child should begin their spelling instruction. So we have our inventory assessment, helping you figure out where to go if this feels overwhelming. I also have a literacy assessment guide that goes into this with more videos on how to do a spelling assessment, but they do include that here for you to figure out how to know where to start. They have activity directions, they have dictation demo, they have spelling rules. Okay, so then if we look at their actual materials within the spelling, let's look at something that would be second grade spelling. We have our vowel teams. We have all of our categories up here. We have our printables to go along with it. So here are the printable materials for vowel teams for long O. We have a word bank up here. We have sentences. We have word ladders. We have dictation, coloring by sound, not by letter, by sound. So like S would be one sound, OA would be another sound, P would be a third sound. We have sorting. Okay, so this is a really great resource. I'm going to be honest with you, this resource is better than the majority of what I have seen in the homeschool world for spelling. If you are wanting to know more about spelling and kind of how to approach it and all that, I do have a spelling guide. So coming back to our dashboard, we've looked at the spelling. They also have handwriting. And again, whatever level you purchase is going to have all of those resources. Okay, so if you purchase level 4, you're going to have this same set of resources and this same set of handwriting resources. So handwriting, we have our video demonstrations, okay, for pencil grasp, letter formation, and we have handwriting activities. We have handwriting workbooks for print or for cursive. And again, these are all digital downloads. Okay, so here is your print. So wanted to show you what that looks like before we fully dive in. So we're going to look at this in print on my desk in just a minute, but I wanted to show you the account setup first. So when you come in to your program, okay, level 2, we have our main dashboard here. We have getting started, tips for getting started, download the full guide and review, use the lesson videos, click on the star lesson to save it. You also have your writing units right here. All of the levels go through the different domains or genres of writing. So we have personal narrative, opinion, explanatory, and informational and creative narrative. We also have writing foundations and daily grammar. So if you star a lesson, it will show up here in your saved lessons, and then within each unit, so you can come to it this way, or you can do your drop down menu over here. So we start with our educator materials. You have to download the materials, the student pages and the educator pages, to have access to them as a print version. So your videos here, you can watch them for yourself, right? To gain information for teaching it and build your confidence with your teaching skills for writing. You could also show these videos to your child. They are developed to be videos that your child can watch. Okay, so they're not like just to the teacher. So we have our skill focus, handwriting fundamentals, and then it also says download resources here. So we have our writing fundamentals practice activities. Then we move into the different lessons. Okay, so these are your lessons for your program. So we have our skill focus is separate, and then we have our lessons. So when you go to print your educator guide, it will not include this skill focus here. Okay, it starts with 1.1. We're going to jump down to the printed version in just a minute, but I did want to show you where to access the videos that are directed toward your student. Now, do you have to show the videos to your student? No. You don't need the videos, okay? If you want that support, if your child learns better from listening to somebody else, been there, done that, it's an option for you. These videos are short-ish, right? So 4 minutes, let's see here. Okay, this one's a little bit longer. 8 minutes, 8 minutes, 2 minutes, okay? So it depends on the lesson for how long the videos are. So this is what the dashboard and your online access looks like. Let's jump down to the printed version and walk through this curriculum. All right. So now we are going to look inside some of the units for level 2. And bear with me because my printer was not happy and I did not feel like reprinting this. So some parts have little lines through it. Side note, the EcoTank printer is usually amazing. You just have to clean the printer heads, and I didn't want to waste more paper. So here we go. So we've already looked online. We've seen the online components. I recommend printing this off 1 unit at a time because this is only, you can't really see here. This is only 3 units and it's super thick. And I think there were 6 units, 7, I don't know. You could print them all off together. I would do 1 unit at a time, but alas, here we are. So when you get your unit, you do need a writing notebook or writing paper to go with it. We use the School Nest grade level 1s. This one's pretty beaten up because we've used it all year, but we're going to look at some writing as well. When we get our unit, they all start the same way. They all have the same layout. So once you know how to read one, you know how to read them all. We have our getting started section. We have the writing focus. So each of these has a writing focus, and this one is writing foundations for the first unit. Then we have our skill development. All of the units also have a skill development, and this one is handwriting fundamentals. Then we have our included in section, so the unit outline, mentor text. These mentor texts are not like books or essays that you've heard of. They are developed by the curriculum for the purpose of the units. We have our lesson guide, we have our success checklist. So after the final writing is completed, guide the student in using the success checklist to review their work and reflect, ensure the elements have been addressed, provide feedback. Example writing pieces. This I really like. A lot of homeschool programs do not include examples. They don't include examples for different levels or different ages or different grades. Now, I know in homeschool that our kids are kind of all over the place. They might not have a grade. They might be working at one grade level for math and another for writing. That's very normal. I do think it is beneficial for us as homeschool parents and traditional school parents to know what is average or typical or our expectations for a grade level. Knowing those is just a framework, okay? So I don't want you to think, oh, my kid should be doing this if they are in 2nd grade. They should be able to do this 2nd grade writing sample, okay? I want you to just have a big picture just so you can have an idea for what is, typical or average in a classroom setting. I think those are really helpful and I appreciate that those are in here. We also have instructional videos. They are student-facing instructional videos provided provided in the online dashboard. The videos are optional. You do not have to use the videos. I do think even if you're not going to use them with your student, that it's beneficial for you as a teacher, especially if you're new or inexperienced with teaching writing, to see kind of how this mini lesson goes and kind of get a feel for that. We also have our learning goals, so our objectives, kind of what we're hoping the child will complete in the lesson, your materials list, your warm-up. You're going to spend about 5 minutes focusing on one part of the writing process. Okay, these are explicitly modeled with the mentor text. You're going to have your work session, approximately 15 minutes for the student to work through. This obviously depends on your child. I talk a lot in my writing guide about writing stamina and how we can meet our child where they are and push just a little bit at a time. We have our wrap up, there's an answer key, and we have student pages. Our unit outline is broken up into different sections. So again, this first unit is on writing fundamentals. So we have complete sentences. And then these lessons are for those. We have expanding sentences and we have building a paragraph. This first unit is also doing a personal narrative for kind of the genre or domain of writing. We have our lesson guide, our writing foundations. These are the key skills necessary for writing a paragraph. So this is 2nd grade. This is a great time to start working on paragraphs with support. So here are our different writing foundations. Writing should contain enough details and facts to support the topic. A complete sentence contains a subject and a predicate, who and what. Subjects can be expanded by adding detail words, adjectives, and adverbs, etc. What I really like about this program is that it embeds grammar. Grammar is best taught in conjunction with writing. The whole point of learning grammar is to be able to communicate better and to improve our writing. So teaching these things as part of like why we're doing it. Okay, so writing needs to be a complete sentence. Okay, well, what is a complete sentence? We need a subject and a predicate. We can make our writing more detailed. How do we do that? Oh, adjectives, adverbs, that kind of thing. So that's great. So throw away your grammar workbook and just have it embedded. All right, I digress. Sorry for that soapbox. Then we move into our lessons. So we have sentences, brainstorming. All of these lessons are set up the same way. It's kind of hard to tell with my lighting here, but this box here is a little bit more gray. So it's a call out box, visually separate. We have our warm-up topic, we have our work session, and we have our wrap-up. And if you were to do the video, it would walk your child and you through this process. Then we have our lesson overview. And again, I apologize for my printing on here. We have our lesson overview. It is scripted. This program was in beta version. I am hoping in future versions that this script is actually a little bit more visually easy to read. I wish that there were color on here. So for example, I wish that what you're saying is one color and then the kind of parentheses and italicized part was another color, because this is just really a big text block and it's hard for my eyes to quickly like jump to the next spot, but the material is solid. So this is scripted for you. This is your lesson overview. This is like what you're teaching. Okay. They also are listing your different graphic organizers and pages from the student packet on here. In the teacher guide, when you print it off, the answer key comes first and then you have a blank copy. Again, this is my printing, not the actual packet. Your student packet, I would recommend having, separate so that you can just hand them that. So you would hand them the brainstorming sheet. You'd work on it together. We have our daily sentences. This is part of this foundational unit. And then the next lesson is complete sentences. Same framework here. We have our warm up, our work session, our wrap up. We're doing the daily sentences using sentence sorting cards. Sentence sort, one example copy of daily sentences, demonstrate finding the subject and a predicate in the sentences from day one. Provide time for the student to do the same with the sentence they wrote on day one. So sorting our sentences for complete and fragment or incomplete, finding the subject and a predicate, working on their own writing to find the subject and a predicate. So again, we have sentence level writing here to start with. We are embedding grammar with it. We're moving into sentence mechanics here with the next lesson. We have some ending punctuation review, revising and editing. So all of these units, and this is more of a traditional school approach, but this is also rooted in the research. All of these units work through the whole writing process. So you're going to brainstorm, you're going to draft, you're going to revise and edit and publish. Now, do you have to publish everything that you do? No. So pick and choose the parts of this that work for you. I do think it's beneficial to have children working through this though on a routine basis. Learning how to revise and edit is super important. Most children and adults, let's be honest, are going to have mistakes in their writing. We're going to have mechanical mistakes. We're going to have things that don't make sense, or we forgot to do something. Teaching a child from an early age how to revise and edit their own work is holding them accountable for the skills that you're teaching. This is especially important with children who might have ADHD or other executive functioning challenges. We have to provide them with a scaffold or some kind of framework to remind them to go through and do that. So this editing checklist is actually kind of extensive in my opinion for second grade. I like a stoplight editing one where you have, the red light is, did you stop with ending punctuation? Yellow is slow down. Did it make sense? You kind of pick what you want for that yellow. Like maybe they're looking for spelling words. Maybe they're looking for, syntax, whatever. And then green is go. Did you start with a capital? There's also another checklist, COPS, and I go into all these in my writing guide. This one is kind of a lot for a second grader in my opinion, but you can work through this with them. So then you're practicing, revising. This is their sheet. This is your answer key, and then we're publishing our sentences. So this is not a big to do. When we say publishing, we're not necessarily, framing this on the wall, right? We have moved through the process and we have our final draft that is in our best handwriting and our best work, like the thing you might stick in your portfolio, that kind of thing. Then we move into the next section, which is narrative planning. So now we're back at this. If we look at our unit overview, okay, we are now on expanding sentences, the next section. So we're going to be planning a personal narrative. We're doing some brainstorming with graphic organizers. We're kind of thinking about a little writing prompt about a favorite memory. We're adding actions. Okay, so now we are jumping into doing some temporal words and phrases, teaching these. If you have a language arts binder or a notebook where you're keeping notes, this is a great chart to stick in there. My kids also have a notebook that is just for writing notes where we are sticking in these kind of anchor charts for their use. So each kid has the same notebook. And just whatever program we're using at the time, that's what we're throwing in here. So this is their reference book that they'll use year after year, whereas this one is their actual work, if that makes sense. Okay, so I love having these little anchor charts for the students. We have a silly scramble. Again, we're working on that kind of paragraph level writing now, favorite memory with more details added. Now we're working in the adjectives and adverbs. So again, embedding the grammar with the writing so that it's like meaningful and has purpose. Moving through that revising and editing. And then they have a sample for you. Okay, here is a sample writing that's unedited and your child is working on editing it. Okay, and they have kind of two different levels of this, which I like. Okay, so they're kind of giving you an example of what would be an idea for second grade writing. Then we're going to publish it. And here's an example, age appropriate kind of publishing. Now we're moving into the next section for building a paragraph. Okay, and it goes through the same general idea. We are working on color coordinating. This is a strategy you'll see in another program called Step Up to Writing. This is rooted in the research about kind of color coordinating our paragraphs and finding the topic sentence, the details, and the closing sentences. We've got some paragraph building here, brainstorming. Okay, so that's the first unit. If we jump into another unit, this one is on explanatory writing. So one of the things you're going to see with Simplify Writing is that it is following the framework that we're going to teach the different domains or genres of writing. We're going to teach them systematically. Every year, we're going to move through them again and again, and we're going to teach them explicitly. We are going to break down what is this type of writing? How is this type of writing different from a narrative writing? What are the components of this? Some people think that feels prescriptive. They think it's too formulaic. What we know is that writing is super challenging for children. It requires a lot of processing and a lot of executive functioning and working on using our working memory, okay? Because we have to get the idea in our head. We have to figure out how to get that idea into words on paper, which then also requires our spelling, so pulling from our orthographic memory. We have to also work on handwriting and letter formation and fine motor skills. There are a lot of components that go into it, and that can be really challenging for students. So when we break things down step by step, then they learn how to do it, and then they can it becomes natural to them, and they can start to make it their own and add in their own voice. It's one of those, I forget who says this, but like you have to know the rules to break the rules kind of thing. So explanatory writing is another unit. All the levels include all these the same kind of units, just different content and different skills. So again, what is the overview here? The skill focus on this one is punctuation. Our genre is explanatory writing included in this unit. And we're going to teach the different writing elements. We have guiding questions in here. And again, all of these have videos that walk you through this. So if you are not confident with how to teach this, or, you need to have a child kind of working a little bit independently while you're working with another child, the videos are a nice option. Now we're working on vocabulary and synonyms, draft conclusion, explanatory conclusion, revising. So moving through this whole writing process. The last unit we're going to look at is the creative narrative unit. I did that unit with my daughter when we finished up IEW People and Places, and we worked through this together. So here is an example of supporting our child. This was the graphic organizer we were working on for the different elements. She was telling me what to write, and I was writing it down for her, because we were also doing other writing. So I didn't want to wear her out or do all the writing she had the stamina for here and then not be able to do another part of that lesson. So then we have our little chart here. This chart was in the book, but I just wrote it in here. We don't have to always print them off if you're using a notebook system. So this right here was part of the skill focus expanding sentences. So on the digital dashboard, we could download the sentence skill packet. And so we were just working on that in here, doing our character development, working more on some of the expanded sentences work. This is unrelated, but it's in our notebook because that's where it goes. Working on the setting, our plot diagram, working on her beginning draft here. We edited it. We went through the editing process, and she did her final draft. That was kind of a quick look through of level 2 of Simplify Writing. We will jump back over to the computer and look at the sample for level 5. I don't own level 5. I do own level 2, just so you can kind of see what that one looks like, and I can walk you through it a little bit. You are able to download samples of all the different levels. So regardless of which level you're looking at, you can download the sample, you can check it out. I highly recommend that. So now we're going to look at a 5th grade sample. So if you go to the Simplify Writing website, you can come over here to samples. So the first part are the scope and sequences for kindergarten through 8th grade. With any writing program, we're looking for a systematic and explicit program. So they're going to teach skills systematically and explicitly, and the scope and sequence will show you what that looks like. Okay, so for 5th grade, for example, we have our yearly sequence, so the different units we're moving through. And then they have a breakdown of the yearly standards for 5th grade. Over here, we have which units are doing which standards. So the standard strand and then the very specific standard. So they're showing you how they're moving through this. Below that, we have our curriculum samples. And again, they have samples for all the available grade levels, kindergarten through 8th grade. They also have grammar, spelling, test prep, intervention samples, and English language learner modification samples. And then you can see some sample lessons in action. Now, keep in mind, these are classroom-based lessons, but I do think they give you a glimpse into what the program is about. They talk about the dashboard, they have some data. We're going to come up here and we're going to look at the 5th grade sample. So the sample includes a full look inside the opinion writing unit. And if we come back over to our scope and sequence for 5th grade, opinion writing is unit 3. Okay, so let's look at this. You go through the writing method. We have our pacing guide for your different days. Then we have our daily lesson breakdown. We have our purpose for the student. We have our standards. We have our materials, learning goal, success criteria. Student successfully identifies at least one example of opinion writing. Obviously it's a sample, so it's blocked off a little bit. Then we have our mini lesson, student portion, and our closure. We move into the scripted mini lesson overview. How it sounds. I want you to think about the topic of virtual reality. Virtual reality, also known as VR, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So we're introducing this genre of opinion writing, a little checkbox for modifications you might like to make. We have a sample anchor chart here. Opinion writing is a type of writing that shares your opinion about a topic. Again, this is something that could go into like a writing notebook or a writing resource notebook, or a binder, LA binder, that kind of thing, where you are keeping notes for your child to refer back to. Then they have your sample the teacher model. Again, we're color coordinating based off of different elements of the genre here. Color coding key. We've got differentiating between our claim, our reasons, our elaborations, transitions, and then evidence from the text. And then here's the one your student is working on, and then day 2. So moving through the different elements and identifying and teaching what opinion writing is explicitly, and then the student is practicing it, talking about audience, and then we're going to start working on a writing piece. So breaking down those different steps, we're doing the brainstorming. Again, they provide the sample for you first to see what they're kind of looking for, and I think this is really helpful for homeschool parents, especially who are new to teaching writing. I think this is really helpful because you don't necessarily know what they're looking for, right? So the samples, again, not this sample, but like the sample for the teacher model are helpful to know kind of where we're going with this, like what we're trying to get out of our kids. And then this is the one your child is actually working with. I like that this is using modern kind of age appropriate topics that would be interesting to a 5th grader to debate or to discuss or have a strong opinion on. So I appreciate that. We're moving into the next lesson here. I can use evidence from provided text to support my opinion. So we're talking about using evidence to support opinions. So in all of this, the teacher is modeling as they go with the mini lesson. This works through the gradual release process, which is the teacher, I'm teaching you, I'm modeling it. We do this together. You do it on your own. This unit starts with modeling the different elements of opinion writing. The student is working on color coding it to identify what are the features of an opinion writing piece. Then we move into getting ready to write our own piece. And the way these lessons are broken down is the teacher, you, are going to model it with a sample, and then your student is going to do their own. So we're going to display a prompt about virtual reality, and you're going to model how the brainstorming idea works. So in the My Ideas section, using the key, looks slightly different for the student to brainstorm their own unique ideas, discussing how the idea should be brainstormed. So you're like showing them how to do this. Okay, so breaking it down with a script. Today, I'll give you a prompt. We'll practice brainstorming ideas. First, we'll look at an example prompt. I will show you how I would brainstorm ideas. Then I'll give you a new prompt to write about. So you're going to work through brainstorming virtual reality, and then your child will pick, a different one to do for themselves as their independent, work. The next day, you're going to review that, and you're going to model finding information to support their ideas. Yesterday, I listed my own ideas about this prompt. Now I'm going to find information from an outside text that will support my own ideas. I will paraphrase by recording a brief summary of any information from the text I find helpful at the bottom of my sheet. Remember that paraphrasing or summarizing examples and ideas means that I don't copy the text word for word. If I copy a sentence, I have to use quotation marks, blah, 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 blah. Here are the ideas that she is recording, or you are recording from the text. And again, here's, a sample of what your student might work on. So then we have the reference text for you. You're reading this with your child or to them or whatever. And then you're modeling, taking notes from it. And then your student will do the same thing with the student reference text. So depending on which prompt they chose, they have the self-driving car one, they have robot technology, okay? So again, working through modeling this with your student, like explicitly teaching how to cite text. What are the different ways I can start this according to, from the article, based on the research from. This is great to be teaching students. We really need to actually teach this and not just assume that they can figure this out on their own. So then you're modeling it for the virtual reality one, and then your student will do their own based off of the source and topic they selected. Then we talk about citing our sources and a guide, and then we're moving into an introduction for opinion writing, and then it's scripted, different strategies we might use to modify this. We're talking about what an introduction actually looks like, and that it has 3 parts: a lead, connecting sentences, a focused claim. We're color coordinating this to really identify it, and it's practicing that. Types of leads. I can develop my topic by organizing each of my body paragraphs to include reasons. This purpose is up here for both you and your student. It is helpful for our students to know, what is the point of this? What are we doing? So I urge you to share this or read this or write it down in their notebook or whatever, so they know what the actual point is of the lesson. Working through how to do our different paragraphs here, body paragraph elements, an anchor chart here, with little bookmarks or whatever, on transition words, using specific words to elaborate my reasons, specific word choice, weak words, strong words, revise my writing, adding correlative conjunctions. So again, embedding grammar instruction so that it has a purpose. Using a grammar workbook or a grammar program that's going to teach us our parts of speech. It's going to teach us different phrases and clauses. It's going to teach, a whole unit on correlative conjunctions is not helpful because it doesn't translate over into actual writing. It's not worth your time. It's not worth your money. Instead, we want programs that are embedding that grammar instruction into the program. The whole point of grammar is to help us communicate better and to have stronger writing. So I love seeing this, okay? Modeling, editing, and revising, okay? I can create a pitch poster that showcases my opinion and main reasons. So like really bringing this to real life. Why are we doing this? Why might I need to know how to do opinion writing? Maybe you're pitching an idea, okay? Virtual reality will revolutionize our future. So starting to move into, what are different ways we can share this, okay? We have a rubric here. Again, this is helpful for you to know, like, what are the actual expectations? It's also helpful for your student to know what is expected of me at this point in my writing and my education. Then they have samples. Okay, this is super helpful for homeschool parents. So this was a quick look inside the 5th grade unit sample here. Okay. There are lots of writing programs out there. Not all of them are going to be a great fit for every kid. So I do have reviews on other programs I recommend like IEW and Write by Number. So definitely check those out and head on over to my website for a look inside of a week worth of 2nd grade writing or a week of 4th grade writing. Thanks for watching. If you found this helpful, please hit that like button and definitely subscribe for future videos. Bye y'all.